Hey guys, Brent Sibley here, Sibley Dolman Accident Injury Attorneys. And today I want to talk about a hot topic that some of my friends ask me, not necessarily my clients, more my friends who read some newspaper articles or see the headlines, and they want to know about the truth about large verdicts that they see these crazy numbers in the newspapers. The truth about big verdicts. Okay, so here's the deal with the big verdicts. Most of the time, when you see an astronomical number on a news, and in the news, when you turn it on the TV in the morning, or the headlines in the newspaper, you have to be careful. There's almost always an explanation. So, for example, you might see a lawyer in Miami sues country and gets a $485 million verdict because of immigration fraud in the country. I'm just making this up out of nowhere. But the point is that you might see, wow, that's amazing. So lawyers get 40%. That lawyer just made $200 million, right? Not so fast. Okay. First of all, there's a couple things that you have to be aware of. One, anytime a verdict comes back and it's astronomically big, there's a very good chance that the one of the parties involved is going to appeal the verdict, and the appellate court is going to review the case and going to reduce the verdict, or may even send it back and say, this is ridiculous, basically, for lack of a better term, for layman's terms, and they will say you have to have another trial. This jury is just out of control, and there's no way that what happened in life is worth $485 million. So they'll either just reduce it to a number that they feel is reasonable based on the facts, or they might send it back down to the trial court for a new trial. That's one. Another thing that may have happened in a case like that is the people who were trying the case against a defendant who didn't show up to the trial. Let me say that again. Somebody brought a case against a defendant who didn't even come to trial, so they didn't even put on a case. And then the jury just had to decide. They listened to only one side of the case, and they did not even get to hear from the other side of the case. So you can imagine when the plaintiff puts his case on and they hire experts, and the experts say that this is how much the case is worth, and there's no defendant, what are they going to come up with? They're obviously just going to believe whatever the plaintiff's expert said, and they're going to give them the money that they asked for. Now, why would this ever happen in practice? Here's why. This is what some attorneys do for business purposes, for marketing purposes. They have a case that they like, it's a good case, and the other person that caused the incident or the injury has no money, they can't afford a lawyer, and they have no insurance. But the lawyer wants to go to court, and the client wants their day in court, and they want justice, so they're going to sue this person, and they're going to pound it home, and they're going to get a huge judgment. Now, what's important here is that when the court signs the order saying it is hereby adjudged that this plaintiff John Doe shall recover costs of shall recover, from this defendant $485 million, here be it signed the judge. Okay, so what? That person has no money, they have no insurance. That's just a piece of paper that says you're entitled to $485 million from this other person. It's a completely worthless piece of paper at that point. But what's important is that attorney can now go and get the news articles and put it in the media and talk about their $485 million verdict that they were so successful in getting. In reality, they got that money. They never got the money, and they tried a case against empty chairs. So that's what we call an empty chair verdict. Um, so that's two of the main reasons that you have to be very skeptical of these kind of massive verdicts that you see in the newspapers. The third one kind of relates to the first one, which is that, the appellate courts are going to take a look at these kind of situations, and they're going to send them back down, either for a new trial or for a reversal. So, you know, also it's very important, in this third scenario, what happens is one of these sides may file an appeal, and they may know that they have a very good chance of winning the appeal. And then what will happen is, let's say someone gets $100 million verdict, but they know that they're going to probably win the appeal, but nobody really wants to have another trial. So what they'll do at that point in time is they'll negotiate the case, and they might take a fair offer. So if they got $100 million verdict, they might negotiate with the other side and say, we'll take 15 or we'll take 20 million, and the case is over. We won the trial fair and square. The appellate court might send it back down for a new trial, or they might reverse it, but they'll negotiate the case. So they still wind up with a nice result. However, it's nowhere near as nice as what you might see in the headlines. It's probably a fraction of that number. So that's a little bit about the truth about these huge verdicts that you see sometimes. Remember, don't believe everything you see as the absolute truth. Do some research if you're really interested in finding out what really happened in these situations. Thanks for watching. Brent Sibley, Sibley Dolman Accident Injury Attorneys.